Okay, here we go. This was a hard one. I didn't know what to do for Portland. And again, it's already like, do I believe this? But I'll make the case. I think Portland could finish ahead of at least 3 teams in the West. So we eliminate the usual suspects, which for them is like, who is
Nobody.
that? Because they're predicted to be so we satisfied one hot take criteria, and that most people do not agree with this point. The way it happens is, I think the Clippers over under has already fallen like below 40, and like they have blow it up. We've talked about a Kawhi Leonard trade, doesn't mean it'll happen, but it's there. Utah, like they're the only other team in the West that's like could really has steered into the skid in the past, just not for a full season. So, and they've got the security of like, we got Markkanen locked up. That's okay. We like don't need to worry about too much there. So we can just be bad. We can let Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks, everybody play. So they could be below them. Then it's just like there's a mystery team that needs to slip. Probably not the Spurs. I think people would nominate them. But between like the Lakers, the Warriors, who else am I missing that could be like, oh no, they got old and bad fast? Like there's got to be.
I think the Pelicans kind of have low floor potential. If Zion gets injured, what happens there?
So I think you've got like 2 legit candidates in the Clippers and the Jazz, and then you just need one of these. There's always going to be somebody, right, that just falls apart. Like who's going to be Memphis this year? Like that's an extreme case, but like it might be Memphis again. Like
Memphis might be Memphis.
I don't know the way things are going. That's not off the table. Well, so too hot, you think?
No, I think that's appropriately hot and you want to know what makes it? I think because I think you could sit there and say that's too hot. But we don't actually know that the Blazers would lean into the skid if they're not skidding. Look at the talent on this roster,
of it, right? They're good players.
They're stacked. They're not stacked like, oh, they're going to be. They're like every single position. You're like, well, how are you going to? There's always. It feels like there's going to be an odd, like the bigs or the wings or the guards. They have so much talent. So I think that's appropriately hot. I was going to throw to you. And I think this would dovetail with would they steer into the skid? They have the potential, I think, to be an above average defense.
Just like they can put lineups out there for sure. Like you've got Tybal and Kamara, like that. That's a start, right? And then Jeremy
I thought Shaedon Sharpe got a little bit better last year. More importantly, I think you have Robert Williams III. There's we tend to have this idea that rookies aren't good defensively right out of the gate. I do feel like over the past few years, it's kind of been like Evan Mobley comes in. Asar Thompson comes in, Victor Wembanyama comes in. That feels like anecdotally it's just not as true anymore. And so if you're asking someone to just come in and protect the hoop, Donovan Clingan could do that.
I was going to say, what if Donovan Clingan gives you a Walker Kessler rookie season where it's just like, oh my God, this guy's like a top 5 rim protector.
Kessler's another one. And then Denny Avdia is now on this team, which is also kind of, he's young, but and I know they had picks in 2029 to spare, but you just gave up a lottery pick for him. So it's kind of just like, there's an element of, I don't think where it's the Bulls, I consider it damning and franchise malpractice. I don't necessarily understand what Portland's end game is here, but I don't hate it as much, that undefined destination for them. So I think that's an appropriate amount of hot. A lot of it probably comes down to, though, like will Scoot or Shaedon Sharpe kind of make that leap to where, okay, they both need to be healthy. I thought Sharpe showed some stuff last year, but when you play in 30-something games, those guys are going to be so central to what this team is doing that if they're bad, that it's kind of like, okay, like what are we doing there?
They definitely, like to a really extreme degree, because of all the good players we just mentioned, like they're in control of this. And if they don't want to be like the, third from the bottom or fourth from the bottom, you just, who wants Jeremy Grant? Who wants Anthony Simons? There's going to be no shortage of suitors for a lot of those guys.
You know what the other thing is too? I do feel like in-season trades are harder now because of the aprons. What's fascinating, this is really galaxy brain. I'm calling my own point fascinating. It's fascinating me at least, is that you could say, well, like, why wouldn't they want to trade these guys? Some of the names you mentioned, all of them are under contract beyond this season. Right. And if the Blazers are somehow, I know this is stupid, but like 11th or 10th in the West, I mean, if they're 10th in the West and made the play-in for sure, but like, it's because those guys played well and were probably healthy. Their trade value has then increased.
Yeah.
Look at someone like Jeremy Grant, less time on his deal. Everyone's freaking out about that. But like, if Ayton has a good season, he becomes more valuable as an expiring contract. Anthony Simons, he has value right now, but he'll has value as an expiring contract. So it's just, there almost might be like, yeah, you don't want to finish 11th, but it's just the lottery odds are flattened anyway. So this team could be 11th or 10th, and maybe they win a top 4 pick regardless. But you could look at this and say, well, no, they'll make trades because they have to make trades. And it's, well, couldn't they argue that if they're trying to maximize the value of the players who are most likely to be traded, that having a better than expected season, not just half season, is the way to do that?
Not only that, but the other side of are we just talking ourselves into the Blazers, by the way? I feel like but like, think about this.
We're going to end this. Grant's like, yeah, I think they could get to the Western Conference Finals.
Right. Well, I don't know. I like, so if you're in that position, right, where typically we would say like teams don't want to be here, where it's like, we could finish 10th, right? Like that's possible. Like we could do maybe 9th. Like maybe we'll get, what about 8th? We could get 2 cracks at a play-in win. Like, if you're in that sort of, you're not like way down at the bottom and you're the Blazers, you look at the roster and say like, yeah, we could trade these guys, the Jeremy Grants, the DeAndre Aytons, the whatever, but it's like, we sort of already have. And if you are that good, chances are someone like Scoot and Sharp and whoever else have like played pretty well, right? Like, or at least not been damaging. You look at your roster and say like, we kind of already, we just drafted Klingon. We haven't seen a lot of Sharp. We believed Scoot was a franchise altering guy. Kamara's not old. You'd be like, we kind of have the young guys already. So like, are we going to trade Jeremy Grant for more picks? I mean, like in a vacuum, yeah, you probably do that, but it's like our young core is sort of here. And if you are in this hypothetical position we're talking about, it's like, well, clearly it's pretty good because they helped us, not be the worst team in the conference. So like that pushes against selling off even more. Like in addition to upping the value of the vets, it's just like, we got our guys. We're just going to give them this experience in a playoff setting. That'll be valuable. We don't need another top 5 pick. Like that's
a great point.
It's like a possibility, right?
I'm sorry, I sound so shocked. Like, well, Grant made a really good point. Wait, so this isn't hot enough then?
Yeah, maybe we need to say they'll make the play-in. I don't know. We probably should relax a little bit, but they got some. I mean,
they're stacked. The word
they feel like a team we would normally criticize for not picking a direction. But like, actually, the case is they can kind of have it both ways, which feels unfair to the teams we criticize for no direction. But like, I don't know, they got a bunch of young guys. Like, how many more do you need? Like, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
I do this thing, every year at Bleacher Report, and some people don't get the bit, and it's just very funny because it's very obvious that it's a bit, but it's basically why your favorite team sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's for every team. So I'm writing about why all 30 teams suck. So like, understand the bit. I provide nutshell cases for people who hate reading, where they're like 1 or 2 lines. My nutshell case of the Blazers was having concepts for loose outlines of unfinished blueprints for a plan isn't something about which to brag. And that's it. You're right in the sense that we would normally criticize teams that don't sort of have this clear-cut direction. But with the Blazers, and I hadn't even thought of it in these terms, it's just, if you think you already have your guys in place, which some people might say, did you see the season that Scoot just had?
That's a pretty big if, but they could believe it still.
Yeah. So, man. So, yeah, come up with a different hot take. You just provided like the most lukewarm take.
We just got to move it up to the play-in. I have the Houston Rockets. Dan, I think Reed Sheppard is going to shoot under 38% from deep, which might sound like, oh, okay, that's above league average. He made over half his threes in college. So miss me with the, like, that's not, I mean, that would be surprisingly low, I think, for someone like him. And he's still going to run away with Rookie of the Year.
Okay. That is hot. The latter part makes it hot. I don't know the whole.
You don't care about the shooting. So let's just amend it. I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. And the reason that would be a hot take is because everybody's like, is he going to play? And my response is like, he's going to be undeniable. I think it's just going to get to a point where the Rockets say to themselves, we just can't keep him off the floor. We're trying to win. I think he's going to make a huge impact on both ends. I think every clip of film you see, granted, it's summer league, and then it's like workouts in camp. I don't know if you saw the one the other day where it's just like he's dominating both ends in a scrimmage. You can't show me a clip where it's just like, oh yeah, no, I can see why they'd bench him. It's like, no, you're going to find 29 minutes for this guy. And then maybe you trade Fred VanVleet and maybe you trade Jalen Green because you don't want to extend him. I just think he's going to be so obviously impactful that Houston will find a way to help me skirt the playing time caveat here, which is admittedly like that's what you would say is like, he can't win Rookie of the Year. He's going to barely play in that guard rotation.
So yeah, it's hot for that reason, because we don't know how quickly. And when we were talking to Salman Ali during the Houston Rockets look at it, he doesn't seem to think that he's going to play a huge role on this team. And if he does, I would imagine they have traded at least one of Jalen Green or Alperen Şengün, just be like in terms of making him a central focus of the offense. And it's also they have Cam Whitmore on this team. And then do you want to give Amen Thompson more on ball? I know Reed Sheppard doesn't have to play on the ball, but like that's kind of the if you're gonna have Reed Sheppard on the court, you should also probably let him play it like the way he can get to his mid-range spots when he's on the ball.
Yeah.
So that's why it's too hot. And the other thing too is let's just say he's undeniable when he's on the floor. Like the minutes thing with the team. So Victor Wembanyama wins it last year at 29.7 minutes per game. LaMelo Ball won it at 28.8 in 2020, 2021. Malcolm Brogdon won it in 2016, 2017 in a banner year for rookies at 26.4. Those are the only rookie of the year winners since the year 2001 that have logged under 30 minutes per game. And even Mike Miller in 2001, 29.1. So we're looking at 4 rookies of the year averaged under 30 minutes per game. I think that's all time. I'm scrolling through it now. So like that is
super hot, Dan.
Like so 5 rookie of the year winners have averaged under 30 minutes per game. That's you need to like he needs to the lowest total for rookie of the year is 26.4 with Malcolm Brogdon. I don't even think he's as short of that. But if your argument is he's undeniable, I tend to agree with you. I actually think that if you treated him, and I'm not saying he deserves this, you have Şengün, you have other Amen Thompson, but if they treated him as like, no, this is our tentpole building block, that he would win rookie of the year and run away with it. I just don't know if they're going to view him in those terms.
I think, the minutes are obviously, that to me is why it's a hot take and probably too hot. I don't know. I think I'm obviously way too in the bag. But
no, you're not. That's the thing.
Here's the thing. I think the path to whatever the minutes need to be, high 20s minimum, right? I think if you're the Rockets, in a way that is pretty different from almost all of your other, like the million rookie scale guys you have, is like, it's not like you put Sheppard out there and say like, oh, we're giving away something. It's more like, we need better shooting. Let's play Reed Sheppard. We need more playmaking. Let's play Reed Sheppard. We need more defensive disruption. Let's play Reed Sheppard. Like all of the things you might need, he can provide. And now this is insane to say because he hasn't played an NBA minute yet, but everything we've seen and heard and read is just like, this guy just contributes across the board in a way that defies like the prototypical like small white guard. And so like, I just think there's going to be so many ways where it's obvious that he's helpful that it's like, it's on the fringes of possibility that he's going to get the minutes to do it. But yeah, I think it's not a hot take if you said like, if he plays 30 plus minutes, he's just going to win rookie of the year because this class sucks. And most of these guys are going to be on terrible teams. That's another different aspect is he's going to be playing. I mean, it cuts both ways because his team has better players, but like he's going to get noticed more. He's definitely like, he's going to do impactful stuff for a team that's winning. It's like Sarr could have crazy numbers in Washington. I don't think he will. And everybody will be like, okay, cool. They won 14 games. Like, that's just not rookie of the year stuff.
I guess that would be not the strongest argument, but the pushback to the minutes would be he's just going to be so much better than the field that if he's averaging 23 minutes versus Zachary Risichet getting 30 and like not doing much for the Atlanta Hawks, perhaps that will make up the difference.
Yeah.
But like you would have to be a Victor Wembanyama level of undeniable.
Right.
For that. And I still even think that if you're that and you're averaging under 25 minutes a game, people are just going to be like, well, no, we have to go with availability and playing time.
Yeah. I think the quality of the class overall is like a decent, decent support for him winning rookie of the year. Cause it might be a Brogdon situation, even if he doesn't get to the minutes where it's like, who the hell else are we going to pick? Like all these guys are as advertised. This class was thought to be bad. It is bad. And so somebody's got to win it. I don't know.